me to invite her to speak. I'll present her first here before I invite her to the floor. So today we're welcoming here Dr. Eloisa Candelo, who very kindly accepted the invitation to come here on a very busy week for her. Dr. Eloisa Candelo is a senior research scientist at IBM Research Brazil, based in São Paulo. She specializes in human-computer interaction, focusing on the design and evaluation of conversational systems and responsible AI technologies. She holds a PhD in computer science with a focus on interactive technologies from the University of Brighton in the UK. At IBM, Dr. Candelo leads research in the Responsible Tech Group, applying mixed methods research to develop ethical and engaging AI-driven user experiences. Her work has been published in leading conferences such as CHI, CSCW, and CUI. She has also contributed to several patents related to conversational AI. Dr. Candelo is an active member of the ACM community, serving on committees like SIGCHI, LATAM, and on the SIGCHI steering committee. She is also an ACM distinguished speaker, offering talks on topics including AI, social impact, and design perspectives on generative AI. And currently, she's a technical program chair for CHI 2026. Many of you will be thinking of her throughout the day, I don't know. So it's a great pleasure for us to invite, and we had to add here, she's a very active member of our Brazilian community and one of the kindest person all of us know. So it's a great pleasure for us to welcome Eloisa Candelo. So please join us here.
Thank you, everyone. It's a great pleasure. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Raquel, for inviting me. It's like an honor to be here speaking to this audience in this conference. And of course, many of you is part of my journey. So I'm very grateful and proud as well to be here talking to you. So my main motivation to give this talk is connected to my concern on how can we design AI systems that will have a positive social impact on humans and society. In my view, responsible AI is like a dance, you know. You have the technology, you have the society, you have the humans. And the humans, you can have stakeholders, we can have the final users, you can have the decision makers. And not always the decisions from stakeholders are aligned with the society and the impact. So I'm from the group Responsible Tech, and we want to make technology proactively, accountable, inclusive, and centered around meaningful impact. And it's very hard, actually, if we think about responsible AI without thinking about different lanes. So if you are from social sciences, what's the impact of AI systems on societies, individuals and institutions? If you are from philosophy, what's the right, good, just thing to do in developing and deploying AI systems? Or if you work with law, for example, or policy, what is the best policy, regulation for developing and deploying AI systems? And most of us here, we are in the last one. We work with applied science, engineering, and design. So for us, it's so important to develop and design AI systems and tools that have a positive impact. I love this diagram because this diagram captures the most important things for me, Eloisa, about responsible AI. That's responsibility, accountability, and transparency. So let's see some effects of the AI that we have today and some negative impacts. In the first case, we can see a New York AI-powered chatbot that provided incorrect information to business owners on various topics, including working rights, discriminating based on the source of income. In the second case, that's one of the most cited cases lately, an airline chatbot gave incorrect information to travelers, And the airline responded saying, the chatbot is responsible for their own actions. So we have like a big issue about accountability here. And in the third case, we have lawyers representing a client that they submit a legal brief written by ChatGPT. And of course, we had some codes, fake codes, and no existent cases that were part of this document. And this is not like a trustworthy source that we can think about. And the fourth case, that is one of many, a Belgian man died by suicide after chatting with an AI chatbot on an app called Chai. The person asked things like, if the chatbot would save the planet if he killed himself. Here it's a clear impact and harm caused by the output of those conversational systems. So if you think about that, we have like a lot of misleading information and many things that we from this community, we need to think about the content that will be in those technologies. And we can talk about technologies like books, you know? So we have this book here, a long time ago, that the narrative talked about a man that committed suicide, yeah? And then we had a number of suicides associated to this work. And this phenomenon has come to be and as called weather effect. So it's something that we make us think. It's about the technology, it's about the content, it's about the guardrails, or it's about the access of information. So with the technology that we have nowadays, the access is extended. And how can we look at that and put some guardrails if it's necessary? So what are the design implications we should consider when we building AI systems? It's an open question and it's still a valid research question. I chose 2 AI-based projects that we did to serve as the ground for this discussion. So the first one deals with engaging with chatbots pretending to be characters of a book in a public space. And the second one focuses on social implications in designing for underrepresented people. So in this one, we wanted to understand the implications of interacting with chatbots in public space. So we looked at the interaction of visitors in an art exhibition. In this exhibition, we have 3 chatbots that they are represented by the hats. And it's about a famous book in Brazil. The name of the book is Dom Casmurro. All the Brazilians know. We have many soap operas about that. And what's about? You have the husband, the wife, and the best friend. And the husband is very jealous of the wife. So we got this plot because it was something that Brazilians, they knew. We had in Itaú Cultural in São Paulo for 2 months. And we collected information and we analyzed how people interact with chatbots in public spaces. So I'm going to show a video. The video is from the exhibition floor, so you are going to listen to some noises, but it's part of the video, okay? The person is adding his name.
Já digitei meu nome aqui. E veja só como funciona a obra. Nós temos aqui as 3 opções, o Escobar, a Capitu e o Bentinho. Então eu preciso fazer uma pergunta e direcionar para um dos personagens. A pergunta mais intrigante do livro.
The question right, everyone.
Vamos lá ver? Bom, a Capitu está dando a resposta.
And you saw that the cup was red because she was mad with the question because, of course, she didn't betray him. Okay? In the book, for who is not familiar with the plot, the author does not mention if she did or not. So that's why it's a good plot as well to work with. So we did a study to understand this user experience, the perception of engagement with chatbots, and we tested it. We have something that's called the dominance effect. So previous literature in social facilitation shows the performance of players improved 14% in front of an audience, while bad players had a dramatic decrease of 30%. So if you are good, you become better, you know, in front of an audience. And if you feel like imposter syndrome or something, then you probably would have not the best performance. So we looked at that, and we looked at that the literature also shows about proximity. So people, if you stay looking at somebody is doing like typing text, and you have someone looking at your mobile phone, this influences the way that you are going to interact. So we identified 3 types of audiences that seem to be different types of interactions. Visitors observed by acquaintances, family and friends. Usually you go to art exhibitions with family and friends. Visitors observed by other visitors standing in a queue, and visitors observed by strangers standing around the table. Those categories were not exclusive. Participants were asked to describe their experience and answer a survey after they interacted. So we had 92 interviews after the person interacted, and we asked them to interview. So it was amazing because we could capture the experience right away. We analyzed the data to understand better the effects of those types of audiences. We recorded the experiences and video. People gave the consent for that when they enter in that exhibition space, and we looked at the logs as well. So our question was, what are the effects of audiences on visitors' perceptions? So as we can see, 77% of visitors observed by strangers in a queue. So they are here interacting, and people that are behind them, with previous knowledge of the plot, felt part of the conversation. It was like they were talking with the chatbots and interacting with them. Maybe because they didn't have anyone in their visual space. And we also found a gender effect. So the gender effect was very interesting because it appeared a lot in the data. So people observed by strangers around the table, when you have the table, we saw that males, they usually, they thought that the characters answered about any subject. They disagree. And females, they disagree as well, but less, because they usually asked questions in the scope, the females. And males, they asked questions like, can I go out with you, Capitu? Things like that. Capitu is the woman from the book. Or they wanted to ask about the football game and things like that. So we saw a difference in gender as well. We also investigated the effect of audiences could play with more visitors. So we wanted to understand if you have someone together or not. And in this picture, you can see we have like Mais Café, Cláudio. So those are some criteria that we used in the study as well. So Mais Café is more coffee. When the chatbots, they couldn't answer, instead of saying, I don't know, they said more coffee. And some people, they continue interacting. So we wanted to measure how engaged they were with the exhibition as well after a failure. And the Claudio is like a direct address when the chatbots called them by the name. Okay. We found that male users, when observed by strangers around the table, asked less out-of-scope questions because people were observing them. And we found that users observed by family and friends had the tendency to continue engaging after failures. Users who were addressed by name, they continue engaging after failures. But then we had a surprise effect. So if you are in an art exhibition and you have a place that you have chatbots and you have interaction and you have other people interacting with you, if people, they don't see their name and they are there, they just see the colleague's name, they don't get engaged anymore. So when we had the both effects, people disengaged. And what we can learn with that, right? So for some of you that work with interaction and exhibitions in open spaces, so gender bias, audience effects are a big thing in multimedia interactions. And designers should consider the the direct address, it engages more people. And how far, if we think now, looking at our projects, how far we should go designing human-like systems? We had just characters, and of course, I didn't share with you all the questions that were there. But when we talk with characters, anything could happen as well, and if they have human traits. And what are the responsible safe limits? How important is to make explicit if it's a machine or a human? What are the social context implications? And who controls those systems as well? We had a recent in Facebook and Instagram with 23 profiles that they had to take out because they had characters. One of the character was naming as a proud black queen, Moma, and a user asked, who created you? And the chatbot said that in the team of the development, they didn't have any black people and so on. Yeah. So now we are going to change a little bit. We are going to talk about social impact and microcredit. So let's talk about social implications. Now I'm going to talk about a project that we had this project for more than 3 years. And it was a challenging project as well, because we started there was COVID, so we had some challenges in the beginning and had to do some techniques also online. But then we also had the opportunity to visit after the first year. So just for some context, there are 15 million micro and small business owners in Brazil. They represent 27% of the Brazilian GDP and more than half percent of the formal jobs. Micro and small companies represent 99% of the country's business generating employment and income. So it is a population that lives with poverty, with low credit score. Those were the main motivations of this project, and if they have access to credit, and not predatory credit, but credit that could change their lives, would make a big difference. So what we wanted to understand? We wanted to understand first what are the values of those people, and how can we build design AI systems based on the values and tensions of everyday practice of credit access. What are the values that we should be considering when designing? So first we evaluated which kind of values we should have there, and how can we build that in the systems. And how can AI leverage alternative criteria, because they don't have formal credit scores, for example, and suggest a better way to measure credit worthiness and economic growth. So our frame is based in value-sensitive design. So we consider value, what's important for people that we are evaluating. And we developed several design activities that were tailored for the project. So we worked with semi-structured interviews, value scenarios. So the first one is a value scenario. We had a cartoon, and we showed the credit agents like a score from an AI machine saying who should receive credit. And then they should say, oh, I agree with the character in the cartoon, or I don't agree, and we could get most of the criteria that they use, and some of them are very subjective. And it does not mean that vulnerable people means poor people. We had like domestic violence, we interviewed women that were in this situation as well. And also there is a very distrust on credit and if I should get credit or not because of predatory credit, and they have this finance part of their everyday life, yeah? And during the field study, I would like to share this with you because I think it was very effective, and I'm always looking for new ways to add new methodologies in the way I research. So this woman in the right, she's holding a mirror because we went to their houses, and usually their business is in the house. We had like several coffees. There was one day that I had 80 coffees because you go and they serve you, and you know, it's part of the job of being a researcher. And you have all those questions that are part of the research that are demographic questions, and we need to ask. Then I thought, this is not working with us because it was not natural. So I took this mirror with me, and first thing that I gave was the mirror, and I asked them, who is this person in the mirror? So it was amazing, because most of the questions from the demographic and all the profile of the participants we could get in the first 10 minutes of the talk, and we couldn't fill out of that. And of course, we got many stories about that. So now I'm going to show a video, and this video had two purposes. One purpose was to guide the development team to develop what we would like them to develop. Because then we collected, we designed the interface, we tailored all the questions and the answers with the partnership that we had with an NGO. And this was one of the purposes. And the other purpose was, while the system was not ready, how could we interview people with the video demo?
Hello, I'm a chatbot ready to assist you identify the health of your business. It's good to know the health of your business before ask for a loan. I'll ask you some questions about your business. What is your business category? Say or type any of the following categories: beauty, clothing, crafts, education, food, music, technology, or other. Now I will ask you questions about your payment capabilities. What is your monthly billing? Please type or say a monetary value such as $99.
$2,000.
What are your monthly cost? Please type or say a monetary value such as $99.
$1,200.
Okay, you told me the following information. You are in clothing category, your billing is $2,000, your costs are $1,200. Can you confirm it? Type or say yes or no. Thanks. With the data you provided, I calculated your health business index. Your health business index is 480. It means your business is stable, but you can improve it.
One of the main challenges that we saw was that people, they couldn't communicate to the credit agent the status of their business because they couldn't articulate. Sometimes they are so good doing their business and they have revenue, but they can't communicate in a good way, then the credit agent could understand. So we saw this an opportunity also, if you have the health index, we could use it for alternative credit score, and also they could reevaluate their business to see how they are as well, and also to communicate. So we saw things like credit worthiness, the capacity to pay bills on time, having a clear name, they have their status in the society, it's about social capital. Accountability, so of course there is frustration. We interviewed some women through the mobile phone that they were in the hospital but wanted to do the interview as well. And it's not by choice that they have those business. So it's more like I need a second revenue, that's why I'm doing that. And the identity that they have is very strong. So the partners, the financial education course that we worked with, one of the main points was to work with women empowerment as well. And what did we learn? Of course, we learned a lot of things that we did that were not okay. So some women received the Health Business Index as 0 because they were starting, and it was very demotivating for them to receive that. We also need to tailor the vocabulary. So we asked, what is your education level? And for them, the word education was like if somebody was educated, polite with them, so they couldn't answer some questions. Trusting in the system, so we had people from the NGO working with us, so which was like we can trust because of that, but if we were just with the company, it won't be possible. And technological challenge. Because the chatbot works with questions, people, they didn't stop talking. And then we couldn't process all the audio that they were talking. So we needed to make a way to ask those questions in a way that they could talk a little bit less, you know. No, I'm talking about my day and my husband, I had a problem. So it was crazy. And the voice recognition, we have a system for that to understand the accents and the linguistic variations. We tested in Brazil, of course, with the accents, but we presented this work at several international conferences, including Scotland, so we were very happy that the chatbot could get that. Okay, so we delivered. Why we did all that? Of course, that was the access for for people to get more credit, but you need to have the ways to do that. So working with financial institutions, what we wanted to know is like, how can you measure social impact? How can you measure if the social credit would make a big difference that? How do you measure? So we created a methodology to measure the social and economic impact of those social initiatives in vulnerable communities. So before they do the financial education course, before they take the microcredit from an institution, and after. And the chatbot was before and after. We looked at those 4 indicators: women empowerment, business status, revenue, and business growth. Here you can have like the architecture of the system, and also is open source. We chose to use WhatsApp because it was the main tool that they used at the time. Here is a little bit about the methodology. There was some challenges for sure, because when you work with NGOs, they don't have the data all organized as well. So we needed to create a database with them. And we had the challenge that we are a company, so we couldn't have access of all that data like that. So we needed to train someone in the NGO to deal with the data, organize that for us to use in the system and compute the things. Here, just one example. So we had an effect on human empowerment indicator. They felt more secure after the financial education course. And as a takeaway for some of you that are working in Brazil or in other communities, that you need to go to the community, and sometimes it's not your background. There are a lot of methods that we need to tailor and work. We created several methods to work with the population. Design conversation experience should motivate and give directions to growth. So we included the chatbot recommendations as well, because sometimes the problem was that they had cabinets with full of products, and it was not about money, but they couldn't sell the products that they had there, right? And we worked with this methodology that the NGO is still using to evaluate their course. And now thinking about the next projects that we can do in conversational systems, how do we ensure this alignment of conversational interface to the context of the users? How do we design systems to allow people to contest the output? So this is not right, they said. It's 0, my healthy business index. How come I have a lot of, I'm putting a lot of effort and attention on that, I'm working a lot, so this is not fair. How can we do that? And how do we develop metrics that assess the impact from multiple stakeholders and the multidisciplinary perspectives? So all those 3 questions, they are so related to what we are doing with large language models as well. How can we envision metrics? How can we align systems? And how can we have people in the middle of the situation that we have all this representativeness as well? Here are those projects are other examples that we talked about humanness. So I worked in a project that we evaluated the typefaces. We changed the typeface of a financial advisor, a typeface that was more manuscript, and another one that was machine-like. And we asked, it's a human or a machine, like a Turing test. People felt deceived when the machine used handwriting. We also did several projects in call centers, people that teach the machines. So they are the ones, the best employees from the call centers. They work training machines, and this process is changing because we are putting large language models in several spaces like that. And we also compared like single bots and multi-bots in the level of the interaction. What's the best? If you have one agent that knows everything, or if you have several agents dedicated with some content. We discovered that people, they ask more deep questions if you have just one agent, but if you have several agents, they just ask like shallow questions in that situation that was about a financial advisor. And the last one is in Museum Catavento, the biggest science museum in Brazil. It uses the same platform that you saw in the literature book exhibition. There we had an orchestration platform to manage those bots and who would talk and when. So we used the same platform for the multi-bot and also for this exhibition that the aim is teach children about machine learning, and those bots talk to the public. Okay, so we talked about several paradigms of conversational systems, when we have single bots, when we have like systems that connect with other systems. In the case of microcredit, that we had other apps also connecting to give recommendations for partners. And we had the multi-bot, that we have one single person with multi-bot. And now we are in agentic systems, so we have all together, right? And of course, the implications are bigger. So when we see the traditional user interfaces, we have, it was difficult, but it was more controllable, because humans in call centers that train chatbots, they have a scope. and it's predefined responses. Sometimes the chatbot will answer, I don't understand, but that's it. But now with large language models, they can answer anything. So we have open-ended questions, they hold memory, and they can work with complexity and ambiguous tasks as well. So when thinking about human-centered approach, we can think about what we are doing. It's a human-centered approach or a machine-centered approach. Because we need to put so much effort to write those prompts for large language models, to write what we want from them. So the prompt engineering is a big thing. Can you imagine all the public and, for example, the micro business owners that I showed you, writing those prompts, and the care to write those prompts as well. We need people that are saving language. We also have this creation of synthetic data. Those large language models, they need a lot of data. So we work in a process of having seed data, that you have several examples, few examples, and then you have a machine that generates more data. And what's the seed data? Is it from humans? And how much those machines retransform that first seed that we have? So it's a big challenge as well. And of course, we have the problem of alignment models according to the human values that change a lot, that they are dynamic. So how can we design for dynamic spaces? And the problem is amplified if we think, because when we have large language models and agentic systems, that's a kind of large language model that acts and make actions, we have like those roles. We need to describe, you are a software engineering, and I would like you to do this and that. And this community is the best because we know how to design personas, right? So how about if people design personas in a more conscious way and not just creating some roles from nothing? We also need to think more about the output of the response, because in the prompt we want the system to answer, I would like a table in the end. I would like you to collect information from those places and give me a chart, for example. So we need to think about that we didn't have to think before. And about planning and reasoning. Some models, some that probably you saw already, they have like a chain of thought. They can explain why they did that action and how they worked with that way of thinking and show the user. So how much you want from that and who needs to know that, right? And how can we call also the tools and the apps to do that? We did several studies. Those are working groups from IBM. This is all available. And it's very fun to do that because we have research people from the business units, and we do our working groups, and we look at that agent systems and how, which kind of risks and opportunities we have, and what is amplified. So in summary, what is amplified is the level of agency that we need to think. Humans, they not direct control large language model output, so we need to set how much the agent should do. Oh, here is your limit. The level of transparency that I mentioned, chain of thought, but could be others, in decision making, it's very opaque. Uncertainty of translation from what the user asks and translate these in a prompt design. How can you calibrate, as I said? So maybe a software engineer, he needs to know more about that than just a human when the large language models explain themselves. And the level of trust of systems outputs. Yeah, so how can we trust that? We have several ways to mitigate. This is a model that we call Granite Garden. So it detects which harms we have from the user questions and from the answers from large language models. And those detectors We have, it's part of the team that I'm from. And we can also, we call IBM Atlas Risk, that you can go there and write your prompt, and it can detect and show which kind of harms you have. Later, if someone would like to check that, I can pass the information. So knowing that we have those detectors to detect the harms, what do you do about that? Okay, we detected now. So I'm working in a project that we call Aligners. In this project, what we do, so we have the detector, it detects if we have a problem with fairness, safety, and so on. And from there, we rewrite the sentence without that possible harm. And we gave to the user the final answer. Nowadays, I'm evaluating and evaluating the criteria of this aligned answer. So we have many directions. So agents and large language models, they are agentic by default. We have like an increasing, and they have tool calling capabilities. We have some that can manipulate user interfaces as well. We have a lot of research also in the context protocol and how agents should communicate to each other, and other platforms that you can have agents that were created in one framework, in another framework, and they should communicate in a third framework. So we are working on that. And the agents are more autonomous, less delegation. And the big question is, where should the humans should interfere on that, you know? When, yeah, during those cycles, if the agents will do everything alone. So what are the design implications we should consider to build those AI systems? We talk about many. I'm not going to repeat all that, but I think we should be aware of this human-like representativeness of data, safety and privacy, who will be accountable, traceability. I didn't talk a lot. The second project that I'm in, we are working on that, actually, in a Kai paper that the deadline, if you know, is today. And one of the things, the context of the second project that I'm in, it's about thematic analysis and how UX designers analyze data in product cycles. So we have the UX researchers, then they go there, they do the user studies, and they analyze like we analyze here, but in a very different way we are seeing. And one thing about is about traceability, because the product managers want to know where is this data coming from, because we are showing me just the findings. And they want also the traceability to check and validate if the AI is doing a good job as well, because then we can see the raw data and what's going on. So traceability is a big thing. And education and responsibility. I know that the things are changing so fast, so this is something that's a challenge. How can we educate about large language models and the risks and the guardrails in a world that's changing a lot? So let's design AI systems to support social impact, and a social impact that's positive with responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eloisa, for the excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Fantastic projects to share results with us, and a lot of this implications to design, and many things from your experience. It was really awesome. We had some minutes for quite a few questions, if you do. Let me see. We well, like 50 minutes if people have questions. So please raise your hands if you have any questions to Eloisa.
First, thank you for the presentation. It was really enlightening, especially because I have started recently studying human-centered AI, so that was very interesting. My question, I think it's kind of hard to answer, at least what I've been seeing in literature. But is there any way we, as researchers, can address the environment issues in AI? I know some are like worse, like Grok, but no one will use Grok in research, I think. But is that a possibility? Can we try to make it a little less impactful, like negative impactful for the users and for people in general in the environment? Or is that like something kind of impossible for us?
What do you mean? Could you give me an example about the impact in the environment that you are mentioning? Yeah.
Well, the one I have seen, which is the worst one, is with Grok, and I think we don't really use it because something more for like on the social media, but it has impacted Black communities in the United States, and so I think possible we can just avoid those AI that are being reported as very negative, but I don't think there's anything else we can do about that.
Yes, if we think like it's a big problem and you want to solve the big problem first, it is Eloisa giving her opinion, okay? But it's like a big problem, yeah? And we need research on that. So I think the first thing is researching and trying to find a topic that you can also, you can see some difference on that, because it's a big problem. So if we look at that, we can't solve. But how can we create mechanisms to mitigate? So even, for example, the detectors of AI risks that we have. So that was a response of things that people were doing, right? So how can we think about how people are using the content inside the technology and think about strategies to solve that? So it's not something that is static. And some of the things that we did in the past, it won't work more nowadays. You know, we need to even approach users differently. Yeah, depending. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the talk, and congratulations for all this amazing work you're doing at IBM Research. Now, you talk about responsibility, and in one of your first examples at the beginning, it was the machine said, it's you humans who are responsible for this. It's not my fault for whatever went wrong. I can't remember now, for somebody missing a plane or something like that. Mm-hmm. And the discussion here is that we can never say that the machine can be responsible, but the users or the designers sometimes can have most of this responsibility. And I would like your opinion on the following. Now, currently we use what are called opaque AI models. We don't really know the details. They provide often replies which are not clearly explained, or anyway, there are some issues relating to the future operation. We don't really, as designers, know exactly what's going to happen down the road after these become production systems. Now, this is partly how the ecosystem is working. I mean, we have big companies, mostly in United States and China, etc., with closed systems competing with each other. And we feel powerless as designers, as users of this technology. I mean, is there a hope here? I mean, what is your opinion? Because at the end of the day, the responsibility is with us, not with them. And we can't control them.
Maybe I'm a positive person, but I agree with you as well on that. I gave a talk last week in a bank, just for content designers, about technology and large language models. They have a big power being designers, because they are writing the prompts now, right? So that's one perspective. How can we train or educate people that are designers in industry as well, because they are going to do this job. So this is one thing that I think we could touch. We don't know how it will be, the implications, and maybe it will be catastrophic. But the companies are working on that to try to mitigate some of those harms as well. And it becomes more complicated because you need to put more layers to avoid the technology to work. And if you put more layers, sometimes you don't take the whole advantage of the technology because they are powerful and you can't use all this powerful. That's all this power, this power that it has. So I would say that in this room and in academic world, for us to continue having a job, I think it makes sense to look at that and try to create mechanisms because the companies need to protect themselves as well, you know, even though they are there. Yeah. I don't know, but if you would like to share, your opinion as well? Or yeah.
Have you heard of constitutional AI? I think this is Anthropic.
Yeah.
That might be one possible option, and we should push for this kind because it's by design at the early on during the design of the technology going to be used, we can embed some values in it, and that's the general idea. I like this kind of approach, so that is more protecting us and allow us to use it in a more responsible way. I mean, just an example since you asked.
Yes, and it's a good example. I didn't have time to talk, but the Aligners project that we are working is based on the values and the constitutional AI as well. So it's one way to include the values. But the big question is which values should we include because they are dynamic. Yeah.
Hi, excellent talk. Thank you for this. I was just wondering because some of the examples that you showed of the chatbots speaking in, I was just concerned about the accent. They were very robotic and artificial. So have you tried using more human-like voices, or did you find any problems with people who are from the Portuguese-speaking people, finding it hard to understand these accents in your research?
Actually, we thought that they understood better the way that those chatbots talk like a machine, and the people, they get so involved. So they get so involved, and even with those ways of speaking, people were interacting like if it was another human, so we don't want that. So always that I'm doing the design with the team, this is something that I want to take care about. I know now it's more difficult because they are fluent, but how can we make this to be like a machine, yeah?
So another question I was thinking when you talked about the values people have and how dynamically they shift. They do shift, but they shift at a very slow pace. And when we are thinking about the pace, and then we are thinking about the rapid changes in the AI and Gen AI technology, how can we draw a parallel? So you know what I mean? It's a very difficult proposition. So yeah, just need some thoughts on that, please. Thank you.
I have an example about that. While we were evaluating the aligners answers with users, with a human evaluation test and so on, what did we notice? That people, they prefer to have a relevant question, and the question could have a little bit of harm, but is relevant to the prompt, than having an answer that does not have any harm, but does not answer the prompt, does not answer the question. So it's about those trade-offs, and it's moment by moment. So we need technology that will recognize the states of the conversation, the multi-turn conversation. There are a lot of studies on that now, about multi-turn conversations. Because the thing that we studied in conversational systems some years ago, it's becoming again those states of the conversation. Because people are dynamic, the models are dynamic, but now we have machines that are dynamic as well. So we need to consider that, yeah.
I just want to, it's not a question, but a comment. So we say that Gen AI is a probabilistic model, so a lot of probability equations running, so are humans. So we are not very different.
I have a question. So, Eloisa, I was wondering, one thing that we've been hearing now that the researchers are trying to not work around, but find ways to deal with the non-deterministic character nature of large language models. Even talking about how it is processed into different GPUs and stuff like that. Does this non-deterministic characteristics, it comes out on your research? How do you guys deal with that? Or it is treated more like as a feature, not a bug? So as he said, humans are not so deterministic as well. So how do you guys deal with this non-deterministic of large language models that you can make the same question and it can have like 10 different answers in a row? Is that something that you guys are considering or working on?
Yes, what we are doing now, because we still need a lot of research, it's creating new layers as well. So you have the large language models, then you can have like a detector, a guardrail, and the old technology to filter to the user. So it's what we are doing now. But it's a research question, how can we keep the consistent of the answers, yeah? So if you are talking with any customer care, you want to have the same consistency. So that's why we need proprietary models and so on, and the training, and have some ways to filter before showing to the user. The aligner is one of those, yeah.
I think we're getting closer to the time to go to lunch, so I'd like to, do you have a very short one?
Really short. Thank you, Eloisa, for so thought-provoked talk. And I was wondering about the question of Juliana. Maybe you can try to isolate with neutral prompt and compare with the other, because this non-deterministic issue is a problem. But my question is about as LLM evolve quickly, how we design AI systems that can mitigate in each iteration. How LLM evolve quickly, how we can mitigate these issues that you show us.
I think you have case by case. Do you remember the universal design that we studied a lot in the community? We need a universal design, So sometimes you get, I was talking, I think, with Marcelo yesterday about accessibility. So some things that we have for accessibility, it won't disturb people that don't need those adaptations and so on. So how can we take some and learn about the users and be more inclusive that won't actually make a bad experience for the others, you know? But I think that's case by case. We are going, of course, to have the frameworks. We have frameworks to create agentic systems, but the framework, you need to tailor the prompt. Those elements that I mentioned, you need to tailor the output. And this is part of the job now. And it's not easy. It's a lot, yeah, to think about all those things, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the very nice, good questions we had, like for the all the discussions we had here, very good keynote. And please join me to thank again Eloisa Candelo for the great talk she gave to us.
Thank you.
And we'd like to give you a small gift here as a token of appreciation for your talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thanks everyone for joining this keynote. We are leaving now for lunch, so we're going to be back here for the next session at 1:45. So do enjoy your lunches, and we'll be back here for our afternoon sessions. Oh, sorry.